All right, good morning, everybody. We'll call this MSRAC meeting for December 9th to order. We have two sets of minutes to approve. Both special meeting minutes, one of which was the site walk. So the November 10th was the in-person. Could I have a motion regarding approval of the minutes of November 10th? Did everybody get it?
I wasn't there, I can't do anything.
Good morning,
Norma.
Norma. So I think it,
Janet,
yes,
is there any way you can tell me who's present at the meeting? Are you all present physically at the town hall?
present at the town hall is Norma, Ryan, and Janet. Steve had a death in the family, so he won't be with us. And then it looks like you can probably see on Zoom, but it looks like it's you, Charlene,
Sure.
Bernie, and Ken.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure how that, who's present at the meeting. Okay.
So it looks like the only people who aren't here is Steve and Renee. So we definitely have a
Okay, thank
quorum. Yeah, so let's see, who was at the November 10th meeting? I was
was
on
not.
Zoom that meeting, so I would prefer it if somebody else makes a motion to approve the November 10th.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
I think it was Bernie who seconded it. I'm not sure who made the motion.
No, Bernie made the motion.
Oh, Bernie made the
No,
motion?
if I seconded,
I'll second if Bernie made the motion.
I made the motion, that's fine.
Okay, then is that Charlene who seconded?
Yep.
Okay, is there any discussion on those special meeting minutes for November 10th? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the special meeting minutes of November 10th, say aye.
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 Aye. Okay, any opposed?
I can vote.
Any abstentions? Okay, those minutes are approved. So now we'll move on to the November 17th special meeting minutes. This was our site walk. And I was very impressed, I have to say, with how many members attended for that long walk.
I think it was all of them, wasn't it?
No.
Oh, you weren't there, no. Almost all.
Almost all, so, good
I'll make a
work.
motion.
Okay,
Wayne will make,
Joanne made the motion to approve. Any seconds?
I'll second.
Bernie seconds. Any further discussion on these minutes? All in favor of approving the minutes of Thursday, November 17th, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, those minutes are approved as well. So we are now moving on to agenda item 3, correspondence. have-
None that wouldn't be relevant to an
Okay,
agenda item.
okay, then number 4, citizen comments. Are any citizens on Zoom?
Not this time.
Because there's none in person in the Merrill Snee room. Okay, no citizens' comments. Item 5, committee business, Riverside Drive Lot Zip Sidewalk Project.
Well, so we had the site walk, obviously. And then since then, we've had 2 meetings up at Milltown Grill to discuss the open issue of the parking area that isn't really a parking area right now. State Senator Flexer came out, and Janet and Amy and I met with her, and we sort of watched traffic going in and out. We described to Senator Flexer sort of the dilemma that we were at in terms of the loss of utility to the building if those proposed parking spots were not to be approved. she actually raised the possibility not just of a lease, but also if the lease wouldn't prove amenable to the possibility of doing a conveyance, because it turns out she's involved in that process. Either of those things would have a cost to the owner. We had a subsequent meeting on Wednesday of this week, and that was Amy and me and Yu Yang and 5 guys from DOT, from traffic and inspection and safety, and Vitaly Staroverov, who is the our contact on the LOTSIP grant. And I think we were there in total for about an hour and a half. And the various engineers put their heads together and sort of mapped out, oh, and Eric Murray was there, the building owner, and Dan Rainey, mapped out a possible solution, which I think I have a copy of and can share. So that's why I pulled my, let me find that. That was yesterday. One of these is different than the other. So, all right, let me share the screen. So what they're now talking about is totally blocking off, extending the sidewalk so that there is no entry into that parking lot from directly from Riverside Drive. Shortening the stamped concrete island that creates the separation from Rawson and the parking lot so that it's 2 full lanes going in and out. And this red marking that you see here indicates the path that a box truck would take to back in from 12, which I guess is what they're doing already anyway. And then what's this? And this indicates, I think, actually, Janet, you probably can tell better than I can what this indicates, but
This indicates the truck running into the retaining wall, so it actually indicates that it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. So, but that could be why. You could have proved that you can't do it this way.
Well, this is what Yu Yang sent to Vitaly for approval. So
Okay.
there was another attachment there. So let me open the other attachment.
Well, this sounds like very good progress, so that there's a compromise being.
Oh, that's the costs.
Being the,
Well, anyway, so because, stop share. I don't need the share there. There we go, stop share. You know, because it was the DOT guys and Yu Yang all standing there together, that was what they all arrived at as a solution. So the chances are very high that traffic and safety will say this would be okay for a lease. And they are going to work with rights of way to see if we can get that estimate, because as we kept saying, you know, it's a vicious cycle. We can't invest in design for something that in the end, if the lease is proposed to the building owner and it's too high, he's going to say no. So we have to at least have a ballpark. So
Right.
we've made quite a bit of progress in that
Yes.
area. It appears unlikely we will need to go to the conveyance option. And
actually, would you mind putting it back up?
not a bit.
Because I think one other thing that is important that I noticed in there is that they were able to fit in 2 parking spaces. It looks like 1 handicap.
Yes, that is, I think, in the actual email thread itself. Yu Yang confirms that it's 2 spaces.
Yeah, you can see the top one, it looks
Here we
like they
go.
have for handicap.
Yeah.
And then another additional one. So that's really good, but I think it's interesting that the vehicle that they're showing for turning movements is a smaller vehicle than the vehicle the restaurant owner told us they needed back in the design, which is why they ended up with that.
Yeah,
current configuration, but, oh, well, that's water over the bridge.
it is indeed.
That is not an 18-wheeler, that is a box truck.
So what is that gonna leave them? I don't.
They're gonna, you know where how it's paved here right now?
Yeah.
Those 2 spots are left. So there's no pavement marking, so they're still gonna have two spaces with a big hatched aisle in the middle. So there's not only these spaces over here, but there's gonna be 2 off their driveway, not off of Route 12.
Right, so by closing this off and extending the sidewalk, obviously we get more sidewalk out of it. But the remaining objections of DOT, which is that there would still be a possibility that somebody would ever back directly into Route 12, is completely eliminated because there's no way to do it. All access is on and off Rawson.
And I did see the opinion of probable cost, it was like 28,000. So is there enough money in the lot to grant to cover that
I asked,
additional work?
yeah, I immediately asked you again when I saw his estimate, and he said that there's probably about 100,000 left in the grant. Obviously, there's some work we already know NC is going to be doing, but he's indicated to me that we should be fine.
Excellent.
Let me interject on lease costs. That when I sold the schoolhouse, the state had just raised the monthly lease on that strip of land where the picket fence used to be. To $75 a month. So I would have to assume the minimum lease cost would be $75.
And we sort of had used that as like, well, at the low end, we think it's probably likely to be 50 to 75. But when I was asking rights of way about it, he was tossing out numbers as high as 2,000. But
A month?
yes, but I think contextually, the point he was trying to make is that they assess them based on where they are.
Right.
So you could convince me that someplace down in Greenwich, DOT is leasing something to somebody for 2,000 a month. That would never fly here. You can't even get, there's nothing
Right.
you can't get for $2,000 a
Right.
month in northeastern Connecticut.
That's probably as much as a whole restaurant makes.
Yeah. You could have somebody sitting out there on a pony directing traffic.
Well, this is really, really good progress. Good work, Tira, for all your efforts. And
Do we have happy restaurant owners at this point and hairdresser at this point?
Well, the hairdresser was not at the meeting.
Okay.
Eric and Dan certainly seemed amenable when we were there.
Good.
You know,
That's good.
not without throwing a little shade in my direction, but whatever. I can live with that. And ultimately now, when that lease amount is proposed, it is going to be on the building owner to decide if that's cost effective for them.
Right.
And if he decides it's not cost effective for them, the default plan is to go back to what we've already designed. So,
just more landscaping and more patio.
Correct.
area, so wouldn't be terrible.
right. So I think we're at a whole series of positive possibilities.
Excellent.
Good work.
Yeah. Really good work, Tira.
Rapid work.
Well, most things really don't take that long to get answers for if you can get the people assembled. That's always the tough one.
You must have really rattled to get 5 out from Hartford.
And May Flexer.
Yes.
Well, you always trade on the relationships that you have.
Excellent. Are there, besides this, the parking corner topic, is there anything else we need to discuss on Riverside Drive?
Well, just briefly, we did, after Amy left, we actually walked down to the crosswalk to nowhere. So for those who may or may not remember, there's one crosswalk where they didn't do the decorative hatching across, which leads into the gas station and convenience store, because it turns out that before either Amy or I were in our positions, apparently DOT had put together a project like all across District 2 to add crosswalks with flashing beacons, and the towns were asked to sign off. So Thompson signed off on one. That crosswalk is about 10 feet to the north. And nobody caught it when we were doing ours, except Jay, the inspector, noticed when they were installing the one that we have, hey, don't do this because they're just going to come in and rip it out. So we walked down there and I said, look, it's at your cost. So in some respects, I don't really care, but it just seems stupidly inefficient to rip out this crosswalk just to move it 10 feet to the north and put in a flashing beacon. And so there was a little, well, the project's already in motion, and Vitaly was like, it's just a change order. So I don't know what the status of that is yet myself. They're either going to do their original plan, rip out our existing crosswalk and put in a flashing beacon, or they're going to do a change order to leave that one alone, and we're going to finish it. One way or the other, there's going to be a completed crosswalk there.
All right, well, thanks for that update. Yeah, I'm glad you were able to do that with all those DOT guys.
It was an
to walk up there.
entertaining morning.
Okay, then I think we can move along on our agenda to item B, the Main Street.
No, I had a doctor's appointment. So I left.
We can move on to the Main Street reconstruction project. I mean, I saw the surveyors out there just yesterday, so I assume that Freeman is surveying that project. There's, no design plans proposed or available at this time. But when Yu Yang found out that we were interested in the lighting on the Riverside Drive sidewalk project, he did suggest that we look at Main Street and see if any lights, I guess I would almost say like decorative lights, if anybody thought those would be appropriate for that project, because the utility pole lights are different, that's just like the town direct to Eversource. But if somebody thought that there was a need for, a more decorative human scale light, that's input that we should provide Freeman before they design a project.
I would say it's certainly worth costing out. I mean, there's a lot that's going to be happening on Main Street soon. I mean, obviously the 65 Main project, which is our own project. St. Joseph School, I believe that deal is going to be finalized and inked very soon. We've already spoken to the potential developer there. And I found out just yesterday that an offer has been made on Superior Bakery.
Whoa.
So these things are all likely to be moving forward very soon. And, I presume that both of those big buildings are also going to have some kind of improvement done to them, and definitely activity associated with them. So we may as well have the nicest possible neighborhood.
Cool. I think, I think people in the committee should drive on that street at night and look how the lighting is. And then another issue will be, does the town have the right of way to put in a couple lights, or where would they be? Because there's a high likelihood in that neighborhood that the property line is the back of the sidewalk. So I don't know if there's extra room, you know what I mean, to put in like a freestanding light next to a sidewalk and have it be in the town property. So, but, so when they give us plans, that will be apparent, like where does the town have the land and where's people's driveways. So we will eventually have plans like that, but just looking at it for people in the committee to drive down that road and get ideas. I would say that's appropriate.
Well, in terms of actual town-owned parcels, and this is separate from the right-of-way, obviously, there's the 65 Main parcel. There's also a weird, like, triangular plot of land that's sort of in that almost amphitheater-shaped piece that goes behind the cafe and between the old movie theater that's been converted to a residence. That sloped area is also owned by the town.
Okay.
And is pretty much useless for almost anything.
Right. And with the Superior Bakery project and the St. Joseph's project, what would be really awesome would be if there was going to be some kind of a decorative light, if like one was selected and requested that that be used on those other properties, so that it would be a unifying theme. So that would be something to
That's
to
great
think
news
about.
on the bakery too. That's new, right? Someone put a bid
Will
in.
there be
I
any-
found out literally yesterday from somebody at the bank that will probably be doing the financing.
Oh, cool.
So-
Is it another bakery?
The only thing I can say absolutely is that it is not another bakery because there's a deed restriction.
Oh, okay.
The current owners put a deed restriction that it may not be used as a commercial bakery.
Will there be any money available to any of the landowners who own the houses for them to help them repair their buildings?
We had, when the ARPA stuff first came out, that was one of the uses I had proposed in all of the, when we did all that big public engagement stuff.
Mhm.
The public hated the idea of giving out money to people to repair their own properties. I mean, do I think that that is a short-sighted thing to hate? Yes, I do. But based on those priorities, we directed those funds elsewhere. There are loan programs, low and no cost loan programs available through USDA. I do occasionally direct people to them. We do not currently have a small cities grant that enables that. There was one for years and years and years. I haven't applied for one since I have been here. I theoretically could. I am a CDBG certified grant administrator. I will tell you that those grants are the most complicated grants I have ever seen. The hoops that you have to jump through are insane. If there was enough impetus for it, I would certainly consider it, but that decision would have to be made soon. I don't know how much take up there was when it was out there before. I think there was decent take up, but somebody has to administer and manage all those funds. I mean, that's a big job.
Isn't there some tax abatement though in that neighborhood or something if they increase the value of their property? they
Yes,
don't-
there's an assessment freeze
An
for
assessment.
anybody constructing or rehabilitating multifamily housing in the downtown Mill Rehabilitation District, which we mapped exactly to the footprint of the new district when we created it. And I was just talking about it with Paul the other day, because I'm going to be directing the buyers of St. Joe's over there. It's a freeze at the pre-improved assessment for up to 7 years, or when the improvements are completed, whichever comes first. Yeah, whichever comes first. And then it's like a 10% increase up until the full assessed value for another 10 or 11 years. So it's a 17-year maximum. Charlene, I see your hand up.
Yeah, I was just curious, I get that the main street is the old main street where 65 Main is. And I think lights would be beautiful there, but why didn't we do that on the new main street? Were we considering the street lights to be the fancy lights that the main street has now?
In all honesty, Charlene, we didn't think about it until later. And by the time we thought about it, we had essentially already costed everything out. It was brought up when we did a public Zoomer, an information presentation, whatever. It was raised, and actually Brian Santos sent us some cost sheets on stuff that his company uses all the time, but it was outside the scope of what we proposed in the lot zip at that time.
Right.
Is there any way it just seems like that's not even a main street anymore. I mean, our main street is the one that we just did all the, the sidewalks and stuff. And so it's gonna look lopsided anyway, if that's all decorative and there's nothing on our main street now.
I could certainly theoretically hunt around for an appropriate grant program. I don't know off the top of my head what the cost per unit on those lights is if we were gonna, swap. them out.
I think Route 12, I mean, it's not Main Street, it's Riverside Drive. And it's Route 12, it's a main drag. I think any thoughts of decorative lighting there are rather silly and pointless and aren't gonna add a thing because there's no small neighborhood feel to Route 12 Riverside Drive. I don't disagree with you, Charlene, that Main Street certainly isn't Main Street, but that's the name of it. And you're right, it does imply certain things that don't exist anymore. But Route 12 Riverside Drive is Route 12 Riverside Drive, and I don't see any need or reason to even consider decorative lighting.
Well, I would say I'm more on Charlene's side on this one, in that as we're considering the eventual redevelopment of 630, which obviously we know is down the line still, as a gateway property to the downtown mill district. I mean, districts often do have defining characteristics like decorative lights. We've got the stamped concrete crosswalks now that we don't have in any other part of town. We've got brand new sidewalks. We are trying to encourage infill development. Aesthetics do play a role in that. I understand your point in that it's just sort of the closest thing we have to a high-speed travel corridor, but we just
Correct.
did all this stuff to make that neighborhood more walkable. It makes sense to continue that with more aesthetic upgrades, particularly as we're trying to market a new downtown over time.
Perhaps there's some argument for it from the town hall north, but I can't see any point from the town hall south.
Well, and that might be
A compromise.
that, yeah, well, that might be what we're defining as the district, the downtown.
Mhm.
I mean, the mill district actually goes further than that. It goes all the way down to the 395 on-ramp in the zone.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, if we got grant money, I would way much rather see an extension of sidewalks south along Route 12 than decorative lights. That's just my 2 cents, because right now that we did the sidewalk project, I mean, they would definitely have to be solar or something. You could never go in and put like conduit for,
I think that was what we
Lights.
were looking
Yeah.
at. That was what Santos sent me the cost
it
sheets on.
it was, and they were expensive, because where we proposed, I don't know if anybody remembers this, where we proposed to put decorative lights was near the bus shelter. And we asked to have those added in. And Yu Yang did a little bit of estimating, and I mean, they were gonna charge us whatever, $10,000 to design it, which we did not have enough money in the bar grant to pay them to increase their design contract. And then the cost of each light was whatever, like
it
another
was.
10 or 20,000, I don't know. It was
I remember that now. I'd forgotten about that.
So at that time, we're like, we can't afford it. Maybe to Charlene's point, if we were, and tears, if we would have thought about it at the way beginning, before construction cost estimates were made for the LOTSIP grant and planned those into the LOTSIP grant cost, that would have been our opportunity, and we weren't on the ball. We didn't consider that. Maybe.
Yeah,
about
you're
if
right
we-
about
I
sidewalks.
mean, yeah,
heading,
it doesn't mean that
heading
another
south.
opportunity to fund it won't come along. I am not aware of one that it would apply to at this time. But stuff comes up all the time.
I would agree with what Bernie was saying and what Tira was saying as far as going south of the town hall for decorative lighting, because that would be a kind of a waste. But how about if we started a proposal for some kind of a Main Street loop, which would just be the circle from the tracks, where the tracks are, up Riverside Drive and around the library and back around Main Street and end at St. Joe's. It'd be like a Main Street loop, and just concentrate on that area.
Yeah, I
I
think
love
that makes some nice tidy sense. I like a tidy closed loop.
Yeah, that sounds great. Well, because like you said, if what, if a standard fixture could be selected, then the River Mill could use it. Any improvements to Swanson Park could use it. It could be unified, but somebody should pick a standard downtown Mill District light.
I still have all those one sheets that
Okay,
Santos sent. So, if we get to that point where we can seriously pursue it for a
okay.
grant or whatever other purpose, yeah, I can pull those. I've got them.
So, okay, good ideas. Good ideas.
Welcome.
And anybody have anything else? We kind of strayed a little bit, but that's all right. We kind of discussed other committee business along with the Main Street, but anybody have anything else specifically with Main Street before we move on in the agenda? Okay, then let's move on to item C, updating the MSRAC website page. That was the homework assignment from last week's meeting, to come up with some ideas and language. I put forth a few.
Janet, what you sent was stupendous. A lot of work went into that.
Does anybody? I mean, the way that the site works is just like a flash, so I know all of this wouldn't go on. I don't think all of it. The part that's the charge would definitely fit in.
I don't think there's a space limit. When I did the conservation website, I did full length, just like it was on our own old page. Everything was extensive.
Well, I don't know if there's buttons that you push to get to it. I mean, do all the committees have a thing called What We Do, or all the committees and commissions? Like just to fit
Certainly
within.
many of them do. Let me just pull the tab.
You can create any side page you want and link it off the main page.
Let's look at EDC. So EDC, we actually have somewhat more stuff because we paid Kelsey, when she was still working for us under the bar grant,
Mhm.
to do a little bit of upgrading. So yeah, what we do. And then she had created these sort of, they're not real buttons. They're really, well, it doesn't matter. She described it and I couldn't, but they will lead you back to other places on the
Okay, so
website. But that was Kelsey, who does this for a living. Renee created the Find Your Way. Where did she put it? This is a problem that we have with a lot of stuff, which is the path to stuff still isn't great. Yeah, see, I don't even really know. Oh, maybe it gives. So there was, Renee went out of her way to try to utilize the new logo and everything to create the Find Your Way page, but I'm here and I'm having trouble finding it. So that's problematic, right?
well,
But just to give you a sense of what,
Find Your Way, top left.
yeah, just to have a sense of what you can do. This is stuff that she created, that links into some of the recreational stuff, our agricultural community, historical society.
just to be simple, could we, on the thing that says What We Do, because that seems to be just a brief explanation, if we could update the What We Do with those first 5 and then have the correct list of members, then could we just have 2 buttons, one that says past projects and accomplishment and another button that says current projects. So if somebody is interested and they want more information, they're just like,
You
Because
you
those
can put, you don't even need buttons, you can put those on the left. Tara, can you go to the conservation page?
Yep.
So look on the left, you know, from the bottom, maps, cemeteries, surveys, all those go to, not that far down, sorry. The blue bar, yeah, like click cemeteries, there you go. And then all this is the way it was, what I was able to produce is all the way it was when we had our own independent website.
oh, yeah, so that's essentially what I guess I
Right,
know if
right.
other people think that this is useful information to have on our website, and if somebody in the town hall could do this for us, like could Renee do this?
Well, I could do it, you
You
know,
could do
too.
Okay,
Okay, I mean, if you're willing to do it, I'm sure.
Yeah, I just have to get the,
short answer
you
to
know,
that-
from Renee, get the passwords and it set for, you know, because all I was authorized for was conservation.
Right, yeah, because the short answer is yes, Renee can do it, but every time Renee or I spend a lot of time doing stuff on the website, we're taking time away from,
Things you're supposed to be doing.
yeah. And although I probably have more time in which to do it, I'm also less familiar with it because I do less with it than Renee does. So Bernie, if you wanted to take that on, you would be a mensch.
No, that's fine, happy to.
well, so the text that this draft language I put, who wants to add stuff? Or cross out things? And we should absolutely, I can make sure that, well, Ken's on, but, and then double check with Amy that the charge sounds correct, because it is the Board of Selectmen who give us our charge, but I only wrote what we have been doing. I don't feel like I expanded our charge.
Well, if it was created, was the committee created through an ordinance? Because if it was, then we would have that ordinance somewhere.
I don't think it was an ordinance. I don't think so.
Okay, because like EDC was created through an ordinance and you could go and you can,
But you're a commission and we're just a
That's true.
committee, so
That's
we're like less formal. So I think the selectmen just
okay,
appointed a committee,
Yes,
and at the time it was
Larry.
mostly focused on the building site.
yes.
That's why we were called the Building Improvement Committee or
Yeah.
something before we changed our name.
gotcha.
So any thoughts on the language? Or
I was thinking that it should be a little bit more pro-industrial, kind of along the buildings side, so maybe
It should be what?
it's more pro-industrial, like a little bit more about what we're trying to do. And the language in there is great. I think all 5 of those bullet points are great. Just saying I would add a little bit more,
Okay,
like more business development.
Okay.
Stuff.
true. Can you, I mean, I think, I'm
I
pretty
can
sure I
write
shared it
something.
as a Word document so that
Yeah, this is-
everybody
yeah,
could
yeah.
just
Yeah, I'll
easily,
just-
yeah. So why don't people take the opportunity to add in your comments, and then we'll put it on the agenda for a future meeting, and I'll also, double check with the selectmen that the charge is appropriate. And we'll put it on the agenda for next month.
Sounds good. New year, new us.
Well, no, more like New Year accurate us than old obsolete us. It's always hard to keep your website updated.
That's why companies hire actual people.
I
to do
know.
Only that.
I know, but it seems like we should do it at least every 2 years. Okay, oh shoot, I didn't include that. So the next item on our agenda is D, the 2023 meeting schedule. Somehow we forgot to talk about that earlier in the year, so I
It's already
quickly,
been distributed though, so.
okay. It's the exact same thing that we have been doing for years. The second Friday of every month at 9 o'clock, whatever dates they may be. But Renee wanted it, so I quickly just put those dates together.
So if anybody
So-
wants to write the dates, excuse me, the dates down. January 13th, February 10th, March 10th, April 14th, May 12th, June 9th, July 14th, August 11th, September 8th, October 13th, Friday the 13th. Oh, and January too. November 10th and December 8th.
So I guess we usually approve the meeting schedule. We make a motion to approve it. So can I have a motion to approve the meeting schedule for 2023? So Norma moves. Does anybody second?
Second.
Brian seconds. Any discussion on the meetings? All in favor of approving the meeting schedule, say aye.
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 Will you send us an updated sheet in the minutes?
I can do that. I actually made like a page just for us
Okay,
and-
great.
and got it to Renee, so I'll forward it to everybody.
Perfect.
Okay, so moving on to item E. I guess what I'd like to do, we had those sheets of paper, those big plans with the streetlights highlighted, where there was lights, where there wasn't. I have them all with me with little markers with the intention of spreading them out on the table and deciding which poles, using the approximate every other that we discussed, should have lights. That's going to be very difficult for those in the Zoom audience. So my suggestion is, if the people in the Zoom audience are okay with the four of us who are in person doing it as the last item on the agenda, then if you authorize us to pick every other poll, then I guess we can do that, because it's not in a really Zoom friendly.
Yeah, not everything works on Zoom. I mean, if we
Right.
had it, in a scanned file that I could share, but
I say go ahead, and I don't have a problem with you doing it.
I don't have a problem with you doing it. I will just interject that the cost is high. And if we go every other poll, this is gonna be a whole bunch of money.
I think this is
Monthly for
just
the town.
repositioning lights that are already there, because there's places where they're every other, and then there's places where there's a gap of like 3 or 4, I think.
Right.
That's something that we'll have to, once we do it and see what is desirable, then we could count how many are new. And then somebody can find out how many they cost, and then write a letter to the selectmen and let them make a decision.
Right, I think it's time we start spending a little money instead of trying to, everyone wants updated stuff, but then you don't want to spend a penny to do it. So somebody's gonna pay for something.
Will the,
Some,
will the homeowners have any say in it? Say if,
That's a good point, Norma.
say if
A
I
couple
was,
times in my life here in Thompson, we've been most unhappy having streetlights in front of our house.
Hmm.
It just lights up the whole house at night, inside sometimes. So that's a very good point.
and I mean, I guess if it's the selectmen or the town who are gonna make the decision, they could send a letter to the addresses where it's recommended that a street light go on, right?
Yeah. I mean, some people want it and some people don't, so.
It's not impossible that one of the reason we have a patchwork of every other to every 3 to, it may be that that's already been done, and that homeowners in the past have said they don't want them outside.
Well, no, Ken said they deliberately removed them. There used to be more lights, and a cost saving measure from the Board of Finance, whatever.
Yeah, that was maybe 15 years ago, I would have to guess.
So.
I don't know, I live where there's no streetlights, so,
Yeah.
and I enjoy it,
Right,
but if people Do they have a choice?
I think in the individual, if somebody really did not want one in front of their house, it would seem to me that their choice should be respected. But in general, it's so dark that you couldn't walk your dog at 4:30 on a brand new sidewalk that we just put in because the next light is 7 houses away, unless a car comes by to light your path. So, so that does seem like an
Take a
oversight.
flashlight.
And
Right, a
honestly,
flashlight or a headlamp.
the work of this committee is just to make a recommendation. The
Right.
selectmen take it or leave it as
Yeah.
they will. And they may indeed say, too expensive, forget about it. They may get so much pushback from the people in the neighborhood that it's not worth it. That's sort of above your pay grade.
Okay.
Right, exactly. So,
So the selectmen can make that decision with the,
Correct. But this committee is well within its charge, as far as we know, to make that recommendation.
yeah, actually, it was Ken's suggestion that we do this, and he's on, but it's a lot of legwork to decide which pole should it
Right,
be
I
at. So,
understand.
so we're actually doing like all the legwork potentially and saying this is the recommended polls, this is how many you have, this is how many would be new. So all they need to do is make a decision. They don't need to research this whole thing. So is that okay with it, everybody, if we do that in the last item of the agenda? Try to come up with that list.
Fine with me.
sounds good.
Sure.
Yeah,
Charlene?
Sharon is the.
Yep, I'm good.
Okay, all right, we'll do that. So item 5, Swanson Park, possible T-Mobile placemaking grant.
So obviously that was how we concluded our site walk the other day. Now, I haven't received anything specific back from anybody as to what exactly we might propose. I was hoping Amy was going to be here this morning so that she could let us know if she had been able to reach out to VFW and the Legion, but I noticed her car wasn't there this morning, and I think they had a catering job last night, so. she may-
Well, based on our sidewalk over there, we talked about relocating the monument from the curb up at the end of Main Street. We talked
Right.
about dealing with the bushes
Yep.
along Route 12 by all the monuments. We talked about rehabbing the sidewalk, and we talked about altering the parking. Those 4 things, I believe.
Okay.
And one thing that I noticed that Freeman had captured about half of the park on their survey, so I contacted Freeman and asked them to share the CAD drawing with us, which they did, and so there's like, that covers half the park, so I was gonna volunteer the services of J&D Civil Engineers surveyors to survey the other half of the park, so then we could at least have a base plan for people to look at. And because I know Steve has some ideas, he's been sketching things, and he asked me if there was a plan, but so a plan, an existing conditions plan isn't ready yet, but we could have one soon, and we could bring it to the table and
Yeah.
get more ideas.
What's
Right.
time frame on this?
Well, the thing that brought it up is a private foundation grant that T-Mobile offers. They roll that grant every year 3 times.
Oh,
So,
okay.
so I could apply for the 1st of April, I could apply for the 1st of August, I could apply for the 1st of December in 2023. So
Yep.
there's no urgency. It's not a one-time, oh my God, this is only available. And it's also a competitive grant program, so it could be rejected. I could resubmit it, but I would also have that same plan for other suitable opportunities that arose.
Right,
But Charlene had made the point, I know, that we should engage the veterans groups early.
right.
And that was why I was hoping Amy would be here this morning so I could find out if she had talked to them. Because they may tell us to pound sand, don't touch our park.
Right.
That's what I heard.
Oh, really?
You heard somebody's already,
But it's an offhand comment,
okay,
so don't take it.
okay. I mean.
I was surprised.
Well, you never know what somebody has heard, right? If it's something that came down through the usual, we hate everybody, everything, we're gonna say no to
Yeah.
everything crowd,
Yeah.
and it gets colored that way, and the feedback probably would automatically be, oh my God, what are they gonna do? They're gonna put a carnival ride in there, we don't know what people have heard, right? We should be making our own case to.
Mhm.
And I think that was actually exactly Charlene's point, before it becomes something on the rumor tree.
Right.
Let's fix that.
Exactly, because it just seems hard to believe that you might not want improved visibility and improved accessibility to your Veterans Park, which is kind of what the goal of the things what we're talking about.
Right.
Not changing the use, just improving, enhancing,
I
Making
was
it so that
surprised
people
to hear
might
the
actually
comment.
want to sit
Yeah.
there.
Right.
right,
And so you can actually see when you're driving around.
right, exactly, see
We
into,
all
see into
drive
it.
there almost every day, and it's always a problem.
I know, I never even knew, because of the speed you'd go around that corner and those bushes, that there were so many monuments in there.
I can
If,
tell you.
if, if that is gonna be considered a veterans park, do we want to do something, I mean, not really warmongering, like a tank or a cannon in there, but do we want to see if we can get something related as a monument in there, something like you often see?
I don't even know how one goes about finding decommissioned
think-
military
Cannon.
equipment.
I
To the
think,
south.
I mean, I think that would be the beauty of having the veteran organization be involved, because they might have something like that that's meaningful, that they've been looking for a place to put, or,
There's a cannon right in town, VFW, on Route 131.
That's
They
right.
got one
there is.
outside.
right?
I will say, on Wednesday, because that was the drizzly rainy day, I had parked on Market Street and walked through Swanson Park to get back to my car on the way back. And there is a dip in that concrete walkway that fills with water, and it was not that rainy that morning. So,
You mean the skinny path that cuts
Yeah,
diagonal?
the little
Yeah,
concrete path.
that's not wide enough for people in a wheelchair, that's
So it's.
functionally obsolete,
Obsolete.
yeah.
Yeah.
That would be something I would think that would be on the hit list right away, just to fix the path,
Mhm.
replace the path,
Yep.
whatever.
So no substantive updates in, other than Janet reaching out to Freeman on that, and we just need to narrow it down, but yeah, it's not even worth pursuing if it's gonna be a fight with a bunch of veterans, so hopefully Amy or Renee, I think Amy had volunteered to do, I had left under the impression that they were each gonna reach out to one, but Renee told me it was Amy had taken the responsibility on. So I'll just try to follow up with her on that.
Thank you, Janet, for offering to finish off the survey, all that.
Welcome. Okay, so we'll just keep that item on the agenda, and we'll try to just get a plan and invite the veterans to come to one of our meetings and see if they would like us to help to seek a grant. Otherwise, we can find another project.
Yep.
Okay. Blaine Road intersection paving, I believe that's still kind of on hold pending DOT reviewing and approving the revised plan to widen it out,
I
correct?
did bring that up at our meeting on Wednesday. We had been told that that had been resubmitted to DOT a few weeks ago, like a couple of months ago. Rick Chapman looked up his emails. He received it on the 28th of November.
Ha!
So he does have it. He knows we want to move forward. I will keep it in my mind to just follow up with Rick every once in a while. He seemed to think it wouldn't be that difficult to get it approved. It's just changing the angle of that one side on the on the tee off. So, and they've already approved it once. So as long as we haven't made the angle too gradual for their tastes, then we should be fine.
Okay. And I know that Ken mentioned that the fire department, John Sharp or something, that they fill up their tanker trucks there, and so they want to discuss the intersection. He did call me, and I'm going to say it was like 3 weeks ago, but I haven't called him back yet. I think he wants to maybe meet there, so.
John did.
John
Yeah.
does. So if he does, then I guess I'll look for somebody from the town or this committee or Amy or somebody to go and see if there's an alternate. Because we know like that, the area that was going to be reclaimed was kind of proposed for a shallow, low impact development infiltration area for the river. So if it's going to be like a parking space for a fire truck, I mean, those two uses are not really compatible. So I don't know. So I don't know if there's an alternate location where they can draw water, or if the road is just wide enough. That's the other thing that I'm thinking. They can park in the road. It's an emergency. If, you know, it's not like parking in Route 12. If they're parking in Blaine Road and somebody has to just drive around them.
Yeah, I mean, my feeling
Yeah,
is. the-
people fly around that intersection and will continue to fly around that intersection.
Well, no, they
It's-
won't continue to fly around that intersection because we're taking away their ability to do so with this project. We're forcing them to slow down into a turn.
Yeah, I think that's a little optimistic outlook.
Well, I guess it's something else. It's just, this is the intersection that will never get improved because of all the issues everybody
No,
brings
it
up.
will,
Right.
it will get
So-
improved.
So the next one is the fire department, apparently.
Right, but, you know, to your point, they can in fact park right there on that bridge to draft out. And Bernie, even if somebody did come flying around, it's a big red fire truck. You'd see it.
Probably with some firemen standing outside
Yeah.
directing traffic. maybe,
Also,
so.
on the railroad track
Let's-
side, there's a couple of areas that are sort of flat. I mean, whenever we go over to meet there, Amy usually parks there on the south side.
Okay.
There is room for a truck there for sure. And I believe there's room for a truck on the north side on that sort of flattish area before you get to the,
Well, actually, if you're heading from Route 12 up Lane Road, after you cross the bridge, that on your right, between the bridge and the railroad tracks, I wonder if we couldn't create a parking space, a gravel parking space there.
well, yeah, that's the area I'm talking about.
Okay.
It may be that that's in the railroad's right of way, so we might not be able to actually do anything there, but the area exists. So if
Right.
the fire truck needs to pull in there, I think there's probably plenty of room
Yeah,
there.
well, I mean, it's an important concern to address, and you know, if there's a will, there's a way. We'll try to meet them out there and try to figure out something that will work. I know that it's a specific part of the river that they want to access because of the deep pool. You know, it's not just the shallow river, so that also comes into play with the parking. You know, they need to park near a good spot in the river, not just any spot near the river.
Well, if you do
So-
set that up with John, obviously.
So
I'll-
we'll
I'll-
work on setting that up. Now that it's the dead of winter, I was kind of working on other things, so I didn't call them back yet. Okay, so anything, well, the meetings getting on, anything new on River Mill that we need to know about?
We finally sent over a copy of the agreement that I think we are all prepared to sign. Shantae Nelson, who took over for Ed Moore at DECD, is our grant administrator there. We've been back and forth with some variable stuff and, you know, would the current owner sign, blah, blah, blah. So we have it at a status where everybody should be comfortable to sign with all the edits that have been entered. I sent my final ones over last week. Gumpert's lawyer sent her final one over, which I've been forwarded to the department. So the department has to sign first and then we can sign, and then I believe that's an executed agreement and we can move forward. So
We,
incremental steps, but maybe before the end of 2022, we'll be able to access the grant funds that we were awarded in February.
All right, let's see some equipment on that site, digging out some contaminated soils.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, 630 Riverside Drive, anything, anybody want to
tire
buy it?
kickers, Bill,
Offers have been made that have not been responded to. In the meantime, you know, we've got a UConn student team working on a partial site design for some green infrastructure and recreational use in the undevelopable portion. I just have to keep circling back with the developer who is interested, who has made offers. The guy who owns the thing is just, I don't get it, right? He was angry that we didn't put it up for tax sale. Now somebody is offering to buy it, certainly not at the full cost that he was asking, but more than he would have gotten at tax sale. And he appears to be truculent on the issue. So it is where it is. We'll keep working it.
He's not responding.
I think it's more that he's not responding than anything else. But he's been erratic, you know, he's been erratic, and he's another one who's, oh, the town never reaches out to me. How about you never reply when we do reach out to you, kind of a thing. I mean, it's been really kooky.
What's the
Kara,
range?
is there still an active listing on it?
I don't know the answer to that question, Joanne. I think it is not an active listing, and that it's being, you know, being negotiated through Peter, who has had the listing, but I don't think he's got it online.
Yeah, see, that's the trouble. I mean, whatever price, do you know what he had it listed for? Because I've never, it's not in my MLS, so do you know what the price was?
The last time I saw it listed, and I think it's been consistent throughout, it was just under 500K.
Wow. I mean, you could buy
Like
a small ranch.
maybe 475.
I mean, that's a hell of a deal when you think about it. You could buy a 1,000 square foot ranch in Thompson for 300 with half an acre of land. So,
yeah,
I would
but
think
Joanne, this costs money to clean up.
oh, I know that, but still, I would think a developer, 500 grand is not a big price tag for just the purchase price. But okay, just wondering.
I think what we're running into is people with different sets of principles. Like the the property's been abandoned for however many years, 10 years, 15 years. It's tax delinquent and, you know, has at least some contamination implications. So the people making the offer are like, why would I want to pay even a bargain full price on principle? And then the current owner is just, he doesn't care. I mean, he clearly doesn't care. He doesn't want anything to do with it. So the strange part is, if you don't care and you don't want anything to do with it, why wouldn't you just take the money offered to you?
Yeah, I don't know. I swear I heard that somebody offered him 250,000. Does that sound right? So
I
like
don't know what-
half of that. or
I don't know
something.
what the amount was that
Okay.
was last offered. I know what
Okay.
the amount was that was initially offered, and it was really low. So I was not surprised that that one was turned down. But yeah, it's definitely gone up. And I saw just on Tuesday, the local developer who was interested in it, you know, one of the two partners, and he just said they haven't heard a thing back. So I'll just keep pressing it.
What's the thought on the space for the use?
Well, we haven't gotten too far down on that. Whenever we meet with potential developers, I sort of sing the same song, that it's a gateway property, so it should be forward facing, some kind of mixed use that has appeal, right? I could tell you a million things I don't want to see there. right? But in terms of novel ideas that could go there, I think there's plenty. You know, but I think that it's a welcoming space and we want it to be that way. You know, I always gravitate towards mixed use storefront retail with apartments above, because that serves a lot of needs that the community has. What the kids from UConn are going to be working on are sort of recreational aspects for the place that you can't really build anything on, park space, sports facility, whatever that might be. Whatever it is going to be, it needs to be pleasing. And that's, I am open to hearing a lot of different things there.
Okay, thank you for the update. Now, I guess we can go into 65 Main Street update, and then we can review our maps and make a list of light poles.
So I still don't have the contract from the Fed. This is very much in keeping with every other large federal or state grant. It takes them weeks to produce the contract documents. Once those are signed, I will immediately start working with the partners who are subrecipients in developing the program. So just as a reminder, in addition to me, it's Eastern Connecticut Conservation District, Connecticut RC&D. They're probably the biggest partner. Teague and Guskowski's Tyke Planning and Policy. You know, they're a public planning group, consultants. I feel like I'm missing somebody, maybe not. And that will be to develop, you know, the workshopping that determines the final programming, because what I sold in that grant to the Fed was not only that the end use of the structure would have an element to support small food system and agricultural startups, but that we would use that public engagement process to make sure that we were meeting the entrepreneurial needs of the community that we have, right? What do you need? Do you need basic business skills like accounting? Do you need something more specialized? Do you just need common office space, you know, to make sure that the facility is going to be used, right? Because what we don't want is to create a white elephant. Like, great, we got all this money, we can fix the building. That's going to be an improvement no matter what. But once that building is fixed, it needs to be active, something that, you know, is a real center with utility along the lines of what we've proposed, and that we have wide latitude in there. The part that ECCD will be doing will be we'll also be hiring a permaculture consultant for that 3.2 acres. So that piece will also, you know, have a workable plan associated with it. And then, so all of the preliminary steps now are essentially funded. After that, I'll probably have to go for one more round of funding for implementation, both of, you know, getting the center functional until it can become self-sustaining with user fees, and then also the development of the park. So, but ever so much closer than we were at this time last year.
Great. Okay, is there any other committee business? Anything, anybody want to bring up something we should be looking into? Or
I had some questions about Zero Reardon, but we can do it offline or online, whatever you want.
Well, there's a lot of Zero Reardons. Oh, I know which
Oh,
one you mean.
yeah.
Yeah. That's going to be, that's on the agenda for
19.
the 19th. Yeah, public hearing. I believe that's a public hearing.
Wow, what's this about, please?
So one of the Julian properties is being proposed as a like a propane
30
distributor.
gallon tank.
Yeah, above ground. It's got a, you know, simple, good plan. The fire marshal's seen it, and he comes up in this month's P and Z for a public hearing because it's a special permit use.
yeah, basically,
That's what the sign on Riven Road is about.
It must be, yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and is this right up on the street, like the rock pit, or is it set back a little more disguised?
It's been a while since I've seen the plan. I believe it's set back reasonably far off the street. I think that's for their security purposes too.
Well, it's a corner lot, so it's probably, I think it's set back as far as it can be on that corner lot, but it's the lot that's at the corner of the proposed subdivision road
Oh, right.
and Reardon Road, so.
But you had a
Basically,
question about it?
people always say there's no industrial uses going in the industrial park.
Right, I did some research and I found an article from 2007, and Mr. Babbitt was digging something in the ground, and they were all excited about this Thompson Rail Business Park. So I started digging into it, and I said, what the hell happened to the Thompson Rail Business Park? It's now 2022 and there's nothing there. And I saw a picture of some guys digging, and Mr. Babbitt was all excited about it. And then I guess 2008 hit, and I assumed the financing dried up. That was my best guess. But
Well,
I don't
think
know the
there's a
history.
lot of factors.
I was in New York City.
I think part of it was they were expecting to trade on the 395 exit ramp that's there, but
Mhm.
it's not really. We
It's not
don't have any great locations for something like that. That was sort of the best that they could do. And also the guys who owned the property were just hanging on to it.
Right,
So-
plus there was talk of a bridge over the Route 12 on,
Well, that's right.
I forget the name of that abandoned road stretch.
Plum Road.
Plum Road.
Plum Road.
Plum Road.
There you go.
Okay, yeah, and of course, that was mega bucks, so that kind of didn't help.
'Cause I heard some, and this is a little off topic, I heard some issues about the trucking in the town as that being a problem. I don't think that's a problem though, because
They're
the
just-
rail's right there.
Yeah, they're,
So
they're
the whole
supposed to
play
come
is
in
by
and
rail.
the big trucks are supposed to come in and off, what is that? West Thompson Road?
West Thompson Road
Yeah.
instead of over our bridge.
Right,
Mm.
right. And for the most part, I think that happens, but certainly there is some truck traffic that comes down Reardon to Blaine. I don't think it's problematic.
I've come down Blaine and made a right onto the lower Reardon turn in my MG and been nose to nose with things that just dwarf that vehicle. Mega dump trucks.
Yeah, all that traffic is supposed to be Reardon to West Thompson, but. So it'll be nice to have something actually go in there. I don't think that there's gonna be, I mean, I shouldn't say, at this point, I should not speculate whether there will or will not be resistance. There's no good reason why there would be any resistance there.
No, from what I see, there's a group in Fairfield that owns it. The guy's an attorney, and then this Julian group, there's about 5 of them. It's a guy named Michael that has some property for sale on the right. On the left is where the rail is, because I'm assuming you're facing this way. And it looks like the good properties are the ones that the Spicer Group is interested in buying, but has anyone done anything? Don't you have to come on, do some kind of purchase with the land before you would get the permit, or do you get the permit first? What's the procedure on that?
We do see people coming for permits just to know if they can get them, because if they can't
Yeah.
get the permit, then
Yeah.
it doesn't make sense to pursue
Yeah.
the rest of the project. Obviously, there's risks either way, but I would say that the risk of losing your permitting fees is a lot lower than the risk of losing your
Yeah.
purchase fees.
Yeah, I would say-
Purchase agreements very often have contingencies of town approval.
That makes
Well,
sense.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay. I guess my point is, if you're gonna do it and Spicer is gonna, or whomever is gonna put a tank up there, why not make it a real park and put more than one tank? Like, these guys have a heating oil business. The heating oil business is about to change completely by next year. There's a huge overhaul going on in the heating oil business. So if you had a tank there, you could run anything by rail. You could run biodiesel in there. You could put it in the tank and blend, and the guy would have an advantage. You'd have propane, you'd have a couple different tanks. You could actually have a real industrial park there.
My
That
my
could be served
impression
by rail.
from talking to them was that they're just dipping the toe in and see how it goes. They may, in
Yeah.
fact, have expansion plans there. I don't know for sure, but I know that they were looking around this part of New England, so,
Mhm.
you know, Northeast Connecticut into Rhode Island. I think they've already got stuff in Mass.
Smart. I
But
was
'cause that's
impressed
a-
that they came
Because
to
that's a
you.
gap in their distribution pattern, I guess.
Yeah, seems like a gap kind of generally in the area. There's a big need in this area for a kind of a bigger heating oil company to come in and take a little bit of dominance, I guess, in the space like there are in a lot of other areas. So I could see that. But for the
I-
town, from the town standpoint, and I think that it would be a good revenue source if you were.
I assume we're talking wholesale.
Yes.
Yeah, they're
Wholesale bulk, yeah, bulk
Right.
transports by rail. So you'd have basically a 25,000 gallon to 27,000 gallon tank for a rail, or, you know, trucks are about what, 7. That's on the liquid side. I don't know the propane economics. I don't ever do anything with propane, but my point is, if you're gonna have a business park and you're gonna have it there served by rail, and someone's gonna own it, why not scale it a little bit and just have a more developed revenue source for the town, because every transaction generates things. Also, as you're bringing in stuff by rail, you have a whole other title transfer opportunity there. If the person on the other end is buying delivered, you'd have a tax for the town. So some good revenue opportunities that I've been thinking about that ties into what's going on regulatory wise out in the marketplace.
I would
Yeah,
say
it
that this
sounds
is
like
an
some-
area of your expertise that we will be leaning on you for.
Right, and I would also say that some of this stuff, you might want to go attend a meeting or whatever of the Economic Development Commission, because don't they kind of must get into this.
Sure, yeah, I'd love to. Yeah, looking more for guidance on how to approach the town side. I can probably do the pitch and the whatever financing parts, kind of the last round, if you will. I consider that the easier part, because there's a bunch of trading firms that would probably do it that are looking for ideas. So it's more of a, can you get the permits, people interested in doing it, and is there a business case to be made, which I think there is.
So, yeah, that to me is the discussion that we can have sort of at greater length, because the mechanism of how we get, you know, from point A to B to C
Mhm.
is what I would need to have a grasp of.
Mhm. Me too.
Oh, good.
Tira, are these types of applications on file electronically so the public can see them on their computers, or do you have to come into the town hall?
I have not been particularly successful in getting our stuff digitally accessible to the public. They are a matter of public record.
Right,
And in our zoning regulations, we actually tell people they have to send them to us digitally, but we're not archiving them digitally. This is like one of these battles I can't really win.
Sounds like you need a Dropbox.
Well, we need something.
It's a good place to start.
But they are publicly accessible, and I often have had PDFs copied to me, Bernie. So if you remind me, I can send it to you if I can find it.
all right, it would be interesting to see. But it was a general question as well.
Okay.
A general question which deserves the answer, yes, but I can't really
Yeah.
give you an answer.
All right, anybody have any other committee business? Okay, then we'll go on to number 6, member comments. Then I guess I would say we will go back up to E, additional streetlights, and I'll spread out the maps and we can see if the 4 of us here at the table can come up with a list, so. Sayonara to everybody online. I guess. I don't know what else. You can listen in.
You can listen to
But
us
you-
shuffling paper. Well, if we are otherwise done with business, I will wish you all a happy holiday, and you should all come to my show.
When's your show?
Thank you.
The Friday.
Thank everybody. I'm signing off.
See you, Bernie.
Take
The
care.
Friday before Christmas.
Bye, see you.
See
See
ya.
you,
At the
Charlene,
where?
at the stomp.
Oh, okay.
Stomp, okay.
Get the stomping ground.
Yeah. See you next year.
Hi, Joanne.
Night. Goodbye.
So one of the hidden benefits that would benefit your farm is, and I've talked to Kais about this, who I think is probably the smartest business person in the town.